Hey, what's up, world? It's your boy Big Court of the Holding Court Podcast and OG Network. You already know what it is, and this is my story.
What's your story?
Gotcha, man. Why I have you on here, but you already did an interview with me before, but you never told your full story. So
Yeah.
I want to give you but your flowers because you was a rapper, then an actor, a director.
Yeah.
But now you want I'm like media mogul. And so it was some people started to see you on the internet, but probably don't really know your full story.
Right.
So we want to get to it. So tell everyone actually. I'm like, where you from?
I'm actually from Kansas City, Missouri, from the 4 block, 64130, born and raised, you know what I mean? Midwest, I'm a Midwest boy, so born and raised, only child, you know what I mean? Just me and my mom and my grandmother, regular Midwest upbringing, born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. So we're gonna fast forward your story a little bit, but the dopest thing is being from Kansas City, like it's not a big music scene city.
Yeah.
So for you to even reach out to like all those people and actually the people reach back to you was a whole different type of blessing.
Yeah.
So the first time I interviewed you, you told a story and like I saw so many people in the comments like, man, we don't believe he did it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to break it down like from like how you even thought about the process of like reaching out to multiple record labels and different people like that.
Well, you know what? I was just having this conversation with an artist I'm working with, a good friend of mine named Sunday. She got a new album coming out real soon called Clock It. But, I always dream big, bro. So coming from Kansas City, now let me paint you a picture, right? This is I wrote my first rap in probably 1988, 89, right? I'm in middle school. So when you talk about the Kansas City scene at that time, this is before social media. This is just us buying tapes and cassettes and living vicariously through magazines and Yo MTV Raps. That's the closest thing we got to the industry. Now, back in the day, we have R&B people and jazz people like Johnny Taylor lived in Kansas City. His family lived next door to us on Chestnut, 42nd and Chestnut. You have people, Don Cheadle's from Kansas City. You do have people in the industry that come from Kansas City. But when you talk about the hip hop part of it, we had nothing. We had no blueprint. We had nothing to follow, right? So now, early 90s come. This is the day where you have to get a record deal. It's listen to my demo era. You know what I'm saying? You have to figure out how to get signed because everything was super expensive too, right? You had to really have some money. It wasn't like how the social media era was, or, people didn't understand and have the foresight or the business acumen to do the independent thing. That wasn't even an understanding at that time. So, at that time Tech Nine was doing his thing, but Tech Nine started as a breakdancer. He was just a hip hop head. You know what I mean? He was with a group, I believe, called Nut House. But in terms of hip hop, we had Vel Bacardi. Vel Bacardi was the first one to kind of break out of Kansas City. So he had signed a deal with Rick Rubin, which was Def America. This was probably 90, 91, early 90s. And he was the first one from Kansas City that we actually saw on Yo MTV Raps. So with that being said, that let me know that, oh shit, this could be done. It's possible. It could be done on a bigger level. So I don't know. I just didn't think small like that, bro. I just didn't want to be local. I didn't want to be known locally. I didn't want to be standing outside of Seventh Heaven all my career selling CDs and tapes. And the local fame just wasn't appealing to me, So I said, well, damn, okay, Vel Bacardi, he signed with Def America. I don't know how he got that deal. And then I'm like, okay, at the time, Mass 187, they were from Kansas City. They went south with Lil Troy. I don't know how they connected with Lil Troy, but they did. So again, we had to go out and come back. So I said, well, shit, the best thing I can do is just try to touch the record companies. To this day, even now, I've always been very good at getting in contact with who I want to get in contact with. I'm very resourceful. You know, I always knew how to speak. I always knew how to conduct myself. So a lot of times that disarms people. And then when people figure that you're about business and you ain't on foolishness, they're more receptive to what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do with them. So I had this skill in my teen. I was a teenager when I did this. So CDs and tapes, you got addresses. I used to burn up 411. See, I'm showing my age. Back then, it wasn't Google, wasn't none of that. If you wanted information or a number to something, you had to call 411. And then, you say, hey, I'm looking for the number to such and such and such. And then they tell you if it's listed. So that's what I had to do, So all the record companies, the majors and all of that, man, I figure I just shoot my shot, And so that was the motivation behind that. Is I knew that, okay, we're in Kansas City. We don't have a movement. We don't have anyone. I mean, at the time, Velva Cardi. And then you had Rich the Factor. You did have Rich the Factor, but this was in the kind of 93, 94, 95-ish. He went out to San Francisco, hooked up with JT the Bigger Figure, and came back with the independent understanding. That was big, right? And to this day, he's still that guy in that realm. But I wanted more than that. You know what I'm saying? I wanted more than that.
And you just mentioned the name. It's crazy. When he first came to New Orleans, I didn't realize how big he was and how big impact. I really used to have conversations with him. Like,
who's he? Who?
JT the Bigger Figure.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to JT.
I was gonna really name him, but I was like,
yeah.
Like people don't really give him the flowers that he need. Like
that's a fact.
Even like Master P coming around him.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know him. Like, dang, I'm really he was coming down here trying to show us like the movie game.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang.
Listen, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. JT has always been forward thinking. He's just one of them guys mentally. You know what I'm saying? He was already up on that independent game. He was up on the, building the ecosystem for a record label and keeping things in-house and going direct to consumer. And I've watched him in every phase do the same thing. Like even now, he's on the Fast Channel thing on the OTT platform. By the way, me and Ice-T, we have our OTT platform coming soon, OG Network. JT been talking about that for about 4-5 years. You know what I mean? The independent movie thing he been on. So shout out to JT. JT has been ahead of his time consistently for about 30 years. Yeah.
And how me and you was having a conversation before you started interview, but you want to interview and you want to give flowers to people that's behind the scenes or like some people probably miss all the things that they actually accomplished. Mm-hmm. And like JT is one of those people that I don't think a lot of people really realize, like, dude was doing a lot.
You got to give it to him. Listen, I mean, win, lose, or draw. You know what I mean? JT, he's a visionary. Now, everything don't stick. You know what I'm saying? But that nigga will try. He gonna try. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got to take your hat off to that.
Gotcha. So let's fast forward to the stories of how you reached out to Eazy-E and Master P.
Yeah.
So for the people who never heard these stories.
Yeah. So again, we talking and I remember some of the comments from the first one. You know what I mean? And again, I do have an interesting history with No Limit. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. For one, I'm one of the only groups and one of the only people that wasn't from New Orleans or wasn't from Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? Especially at that time, because when I got with No Limit, you got to think this was before they came back to Baton Rouge. This was the Bay Area No Limit. This is 99 Ways to Die and the first TRU. You know what I'm saying? So it was a very different flow, and P was still trying to kind of formulate it and figure it out. But yeah, I initially was trying to get to E. It was E. If I had it my way at that time, I really wanted to be with Ruthless, with Eazy-E, because I was a super Eazy-E fan. Then it was Rap A Lot. You know what I mean? But I just didn't. It didn't connect. And then Eazy died. We was getting closer and closer. Bone had blew up. Shout out to my Bone brothers. They blew up. And we had a similar style at that time because, again, I was part of a duo called CCG. So, we in the Midwest, that's Sniper Flow. That's what it was at that time, And so I remember talking to the lady, Cassandra Ware. She was like, you know, Eric finally got your tape. We'll let you know. Woo-woo. I called this lady for months, but then he died that following March, you know. So it was like, man, back to the drawing board. And so that's when I put my focus on just going everywhere else. But I became a Master P fan because at the time I was rapping with a guy named Dank Nitty, who everybody said sounded like Master P. I didn't know who Master P was. And so at the time, I'm trying to think, I was late, but I got up on Ghetto's Trying to Kill Me. And I was like, okay, I fuck with that. But then when 99 Ways to Die came out, that's when I became a Master P fan, you know. And so just for me playing his shit all the time, I remember I had a blue Cutlass. I had an 86 Cutlass, 2-door, white half top, chrome Dayton's with blue spokes, 10 switches on it. You know, it's 90 shit. And so I used to play the hell out of 99 Ways to Die. So when I went to go do another batch of sending out my demos, I was like, man, let me see this nigga label. And it was in San Leandro, San Rafael, somewhere up in the Bay. I can't remember, but I sent it over there. And he used to have a voicemail number on the CD. And I just called and filled that bitch up so nobody else could leave a fucking message. You know what I mean? And I was just persistent. That's it. And just timing, you know what I mean? He heard so many voicemails. I sent probably about 10 tapes. It took me, so you got to think, bro, it took me a couple months to get his attention. It wasn't instantaneous, you know what I'm saying? It was just a couple months. And then finally he called back. And that's where it started from there. So that's a real story, man. That just goes to show you, man, persistence. Like, I'm still like that to this day. You know, you kind of got to give me a hard no. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go until, and I'm going to search for it. I'm going to dig for it. I'm going to try to make it happen until I know that it can't happen. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Gotcha. So, you know, I think I asked you this last time, but I want to go into a little bit of detail. Like, what can you, like, you know, people, I don't like, even like even how I just said about JT the Big Figure, but like, people don't, I don't think people give Master P the credit that he did, like, for the work ethic and the things that he accomplished at such a young age, like, just from music artist to music, like, music mogul,
right,
basketball player, like, actor, movie director. He did all this while he was at the height of his career. So, like, and what can you say that you actually learned from him?
That exact thing, though. You know, I had, like I say, man, I have an interesting seat with No Limit and with Master P because I've always been autonomous too. I've always kind of had my own thing going on, always, while still being, because see, technically, and I want to address the comments too, because see, a lot of people to this day, people are still putting, and I'm gonna answer that question, but to this day, people are still putting together that I'm Court Dog, the rapper. To this day, almost a few times a week, people will be like, oh shit, I've been following your podcast. I'm just putting together your Court Dog, which was who I was in the 90s. So people are not connecting the fact that I was a part of the group CCG from the song R.I.P. on Down South Hustlers. Our album cover was on the inside of Down South Hustlers. So we recorded an actual album with Moby Dick and KOC. They produced the whole thing. It's probably still in the vault. We did a whole fucking album, like 18 songs, you know, but it just never came out. And because it never came out, but I still maintained a relationship with Pete, that's where because people are like, well, we didn't see you. We didn't, you know what I mean? We don't, but that don't mean I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Which I wasn't there a lot for the heyday. I wasn't there even because I'm from Kansas City, right? So I lived in Kansas City. But when I moved to LA in 2002, 2003, P moved out there maybe 2001. That's where we reconnected kind of on the day to day. So then I'm there for the new No Limit. I'm there for gutter music. I'm there for all of that, but I'm just working in a different capacity because I'm past rapping. I'm done with that now. Now I'm on some business shit. You know what I'm saying? So in saying that, going to your question, I moved with Pete differently than I did when I met him. When I met him, I was a kid. I was a rapper. But then when we get to LA, shit, I'm established. You know, I got millions of dollars of properties. I'm producing movies. I've grown up now.
If you're a grown man.
I'm on some grown man shit. So now it's not a put me on thing with P. Now it's okay, shit, what's the next play? What can we do together? You know what I'm saying? How can I lend value to what you're doing? Or how you can lend value to what I'm doing?
I respected you more.
There you go.
There's a different
There you
respect
go.
level.
So now you talk about a friendship 30 years, which you see where we are now. I'm here with P.
Right.
Can I date it? Can I say the date? I'm here with P on the weekend for his last performance at Essence. I'm here with him.
Man, I'm putting that out tomorrow, man.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So what I learned is work ethic. Definitely, you can't front on P's work ethic. I learned his tenaciousness, his tenacity. P he don't care what it looks like to everybody. He has his vision. Like, that's one thing I can say. He doesn't let other people's judgment or opinion cloud his vision. He don't care how it look.
You have to be that way.
Yeah, you have to be that way. You absolutely have to be that way.
If you're trying to be successful,
You have to. He don't give a fuck. You could think it's the stupidest thing ever, and he's like, okay, watch. You know what I'm saying? So believing in yourself, believing in what it is that you're trying to set forth, and putting the work in relentlessly. I've learned that from him, and I've learned things not to do too. You know what I mean? I've learned that sometimes that can be a gift and a curse, because sometimes you can spread yourself too thin. I learned how to pace yourself, because some things can suffer. You know what I mean? If you're doing too much, you can only be in so many places. You can only apply so much attention, to so many things at once. So I've learned some good things, and I learned some do's and some don'ts. So I've had an interesting seat, because I've been able to be in business with him, and I've been able to watch him too. You know what I'm saying? So and again, for the people that be in the comments like, man, we don't know you. And then this other thing I want to address too, because then the people that do say, yeah, I saw him, but wasn't he the bodyguard? I've never been a bodyguard.
You came back swole, huh?
Yeah, it's like, damn, a nigga can't. But I get it though, right? I get it, because all of my celebrity friends, when I'm with them, people automatically assume that. I was just with Ice-T. You saw it, right? I was just with Ice-T for like a week, and me and him working on our TV network. Almost everywhere he took me, people was like, oh, T, you got this is your new bodyguard? And he's like, no, this is my business partner. You know what I mean? So I understand, the aesthetics. I'm just a nigga that like to stay in shape.
You told me a story that happened, down here with you and P. So we like,
yeah.
But you can turn to the bodyguard too.
Yeah. Well, nah. What it is just I'm trained to go too. Yeah, I'm trained to go too. It would be the same if I was still thin. I'm 6'3". So before I picked up a weight, I was 185. I'm 230 now. Right. It would be the same energy at 185. Yeah, when it's up, it's up. We gonna go,
As a kid, I always had a theory that Master P only signed people that was over 6 foot.
That's what people say. Yeah. We a big ass team. Yeah. Everybody seemed to be over 6 feet. Yeah.
Troy.
Yeah.
Like,
shout out to Troy.
Like, see, Murder came up to the front of the stage.
Yeah.
And all these dudes with the big tall,
yeah,
swollen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to fight all the big
yeah. But PT a tall nigga himself though. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shout out to PT. That's my nigga.
But it's different when you got 10 swole.
Yeah.
It looked like a football team trying to fight you.
Nah, we didn't went places, and people be like, damn, are y'all a basketball team? Like, what y'all do? Yeah. No Limit got some tall,
and it's kind
giant
of funny
motherfuckers.
Like, people from New Orleans aren't that tall.
Yeah.
Like, your average person, like, maybe 5 foot, like my height, 5'9".
That's a fact.
So when you see No Limit, like, it probably was a difference when people probably noticed when Cash Money came out. Like, like everybody not that tall. Like,
That's right. Nah, but you're right. People point that out. All of us are pretty much, and you got to think, I'm 6'3", and I'm kind of the shorter of, because, Silk 6'6", P 6'4", 6'4 and a half. C was 6'4", 6'5", you know what I mean? Boz is a little shorter than me. He probably still 6'2", you know what I mean? Like, everybody was tall. Mac, 6'3", 6'4",
I think the shortest people probably was Kane and Abel.
Yep.
And like Mr. Servon is still like 6 foot.
Yep, but and he still was stout, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Like the shortest people is probably Mia X and Kane and Abel.
Yep, that's a fact. Yeah, everybody else 6 feet and up. Yeah.
Gotcha. So this is my question: how you say you're on grown man time? I have to ask this one.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel? Bring me back to how you felt when your album did come out.
Man, yeah, that's a great question. I don't think nobody's ever asked me that. Wow. You know what? So in real time, ignorance is bliss. You know what I mean? Meaning that I was young. I was 18. So at that ignorant age, you think that, oh shit, I just pivot. Somebody else will come, because the way the story went, the way it happened, just for the people watching, we did a whole album. It was scheduled to come out. It's on the inside of Down South Hustlers. I got a gold plaque from Down South Hustlers, by the way. So I had a manager at the time. We had a manager that was from New Jersey. Shout out to him. He was a little older than us. He was in his maybe late 20s, early 30s. We were kids. He didn't really know what he was doing, right? My partner, I was a part of a duo. Him and P didn't mix out the gate. They was like oil and water. Them niggas didn't like each other. You know what I mean? And so it put me in a funny position because it's like, now me and P clicked. We clicked instantly. We was like best friends. But think about that. You're best, you clicking, but then the nigga you been knowing and grinding with is like, man, I don't fuck with that nigga. And then P low key like, man, what's up with your man? You know what I'm saying? Then the manager's like, yeah, man, y'all don't, and this the other, my partner and the manager, they were closer. You see what I'm saying? So it's like me against them. And they like, yeah, man, he ain't this, he ain't doing this, we need this, we need that. And I'm like, and I'm 18, and I'm like, nah, bruh, that's not how this goes. I'm like, let's just do this. They was playing music business, and I ain't gonna say they was wrong for that, but that wasn't the time. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like at that time, P hadn't blown up yet. See, they fumbled because he hadn't even gotten to the bag for real. You know what I'm saying? He was just like, oh shit, Bone is hot. Y'all kind of got that. I'm gonna make y'all my version of them. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna put this shit out, see what happened. That's what it ain't like we had, no track record. It's not like we had hit records. We didn't even have a buzz. We was just niggas that could rap that sent a demo that got it in the right hands. You know what I mean? So, but to answer your question, I remember I was just in a space of confusion, really, and trying to pivot. It was like, okay, that didn't work out. Surely I can get with Rap a Lot. Surely I can get with Jive or, you know what I'm saying, one of these other labels. But it never happened. You know what I mean? So while that's happening, I'm still in the street and I'm starting to kind of get a little money. So now I turn from, trying to get on to let me put my cell phone. Right. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? And that's where with P, on some 100 shit, I hit him like, hey, bro, I'm going to put these albums out. And so with that influence, I was able to get money up front from Southwest and from Selecto. So I still did well. I just didn't get to be a part of I didn't get the No Limit fame.
Like me just sitting back and thinking like being an artist on No Limit,
yeah,
probably before or during the time, like, man, my album ain't come out. Man, the people putting out 20 albums a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Make you look like what the hell?
It was weird. Like I said, bro, we was right before that because the album that we did, it would have came out before Ice Cream Man. You see what I'm saying? And we got pushed to the front of the line. You got to think about that dynamic. So Servon, Mia, all of them is there, right? We came in out of nowhere.
About to get pushed up.
Yeah. And P like, nah, do this. And we did the album like that. We recorded with K. Lou. So I can say, in all honesty, I do remember maybe a little bit feeling like, damn, when No Limit really started blowing up, you do have that feeling like, damn, I could have been right there.
Me as a kid, I never heard Master P until Ice Cream Man because he was in the beat.
Yes.
So we heard the Cash Money and the Big Boy.
Right.
So like Master P came and he's like repping New Orleans.
Yeah.
And Cali was like, oh yeah, it's from the but it was like a different type of
yes.
come up than everybody else.
And I do, and it's funny. I was just telling my wife this the other day. I'm kind of dealing with that now in this media space, because I've been in LA for almost half my life now. Me being from Kansas City, it's funny now. It's kind of like, even though I try to include and rep Kansas City, it's kind of like, well, hold up, you low key LA.
Dude like, man,
yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, they like, you not from here. So I see where P that struggle came in, because it was like he went to California as a teenager, 20 or something like that, and then came up and then came back. But then people in New Orleans don't know him. They don't know him from that. But see, Kansas City was always tied in with the Bay, so we knew. My city already knew. So it's just funny how that works. It's almost like you become a man with no country. It's because, like, me being from Kansas City and then living in LA for half my life, it's almost like Kansas City is like, nah, you've been there too long. But then LA is like, but you're not from here.
But I tell people, man, I think everything happened for a reason. I think everybody needed for Master P to actually learn the game from the Bay, to come bring it to New Orleans, to open up a door for Cash Money.
That's a fact.
That's how me just looking at that, like me knowing business. I don't really know about the music business.
Right.
But I just could see the structure of how things went.
Yeah.
He learned the game from this. He didn't have to come back to New Orleans.
That's a fact.
He could have stayed in Cali.
That's a fact. And I understand why he did. See, people don't understand what P was figuring it out. He was figuring it out. And there was, in my opinion, there were some other things that happened too, right? So for instance, like I say, what's for you is for you, regardless, right? So that was for him. But there were other things that I feel like moved on his behalf. Like, he was in the Bay, he was trying the West Coast shit. It was cool. He got a little buzz. But I personally think with Pac dying, with Biggie dying, with Easy dying, these holes started opening up that needed to be filled. You know what I'm saying? And then with them dying, it was like everybody got scared of the gangster shit, and Puffy and them kind of came in with this jiggy shit. It was, let's get back to the fun, and hip hop got dark. And it was a hole that opened up for him, and the timing was perfect. And then he discovered what was wrong. He discovered, and when I say what was wrong, or not wrong, but damn, okay, things are dark. The music is slow. The music is, you know what I'm saying? So he came back out, body. It had energy. You know what I mean? Then it was gangster because everybody was scared. Then it was this new energy, and it was like, oh shit. And then he found that formula with Beats by the Pound, and it was new. Because I'll be honest with you, coming from Kansas City, and I think the rest of the world, we didn't know bounce music. We weren't exposed to it. See, like Bout It to me is a bounce record. It's got the bounce influence. A lot of his music on Ice Cream Man had the bounce influence. It was new to everybody. It was just fresh. You know what I'm saying? So I think these things that happened, and him being in a position to put in the work. It was a lot of work. You know what I mean? The nigga was going from city to city, spending a bunch of money, marketing, promoting, you know what I'm saying? Going overboard. Most motherfuckers was getting one ad in the magazines. This nigga was like, nah, give me 4 of them bitches. Because he understood perception. He understood marketing. He understood that this shit need to look bigger than life. That's why the album covers was like that. That's why the movement was like that. That's why the presentation was like that. So that's another thing I learned from him, the importance of presentation,
Yeah, he came in the game moving like Def Jam. As soon as he got it.
Once the hole opened up, he ran right through that bitch like, nah, everybody hurry up. Come on, everybody go. Fuck that just one at a time shit.
Right. Like, also me speaking on him as he didn't have to come back, because I speak on that because I'm like, he was in the Bay. But Too Short, it's like he has like a lot of ties to Louisiana, his family from Louisiana. He could have came back to Louisiana.
I just seen him recently say that.
Yeah, so it's like Pimp C. He could have went back to crowd. But like, that's why I say Master P actually came back.
Yeah.
And went to his project and got he didn't have to come back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he made more money in the Cali.
And I think a lot of that had to do with KLC too. Shout out to KLC. KLC was tapped in. A lot of these artists were already working with him. You know what I'm saying? So it was timing. It was already built in,
God's plan.
Yeah, it was God's plan. Then too, him coming back to Baton Rouge, P is kind of a, he subscribes to the big fish in the small pond. He understands strategy and chess. So he understood that, okay, let me go somewhere where it's not crowded, where I can be that big guy, right, and I can move the pieces. Because in LA, I got to contend with the majors. I got to contend with Death Row. I got to contend with all these other, it was just like priority. it was a strategy to go to priority because he could get the attention that he needed. That he didn't have to compete with a bunch of, if he had went to Interscope, I got to compete with Murder Inc. I got to compete with Bad Boy. I got to compete with Death Row. You see what I'm saying? For budgets, for all of it. You see what I'm saying?
To put all the artists out.
That's what I'm saying, right? So it was the same thing coming back to Louisiana. The cost of living's cheaper, slower. You know what I'm saying? So it worked out.
And I also tell people, Master P they don't also give him enough credit. He opened the door for Baton Rouge.
Definitely.
Let me tell you a crazy story.
Yeah.
Like, last month I was supposed to interview Young Bleed, but I couldn't get in my office.
Okay.
But I always tell people like him, Young Bleed, and CeeLo open the doors for Boosie. And people don't like. That's like Master P is credit for a lot of stuff that people don't give him credit for.
Yeah.
Like even the big deal with Cash Money. Like y'all got the big deal because of P.
Yeah.
Like, they don't give the credit.
He definitely shined the light on the South. You know what I mean?
And he took over the South, but I'm talking about just Louisiana. Period.
Yeah.
A lot of that's Master P.
No, I could see that. I think. Now I will say, Cash Money was going to do that anyway.
Right.
It was going to do that anyway.
The deal they got. I think the deal came from him being independent and moving a certain way, and I think that.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I think, in my opinion, I think Cash Money was going to get that because that deal was predicated upon the numbers they was already putting up.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So it may have made it appealing, the fact that Universal had the foresight to say, okay, Louisiana's hot. We see what this Master P nigga doing. You know what I'm saying? So this is hot. This is a hotbed. But I think Cash Money was going to do that anyway.
Like, even though Master P and Birdman never talked,
Yeah.
the artists was doing songs together.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Like, I think, that's why I was like, I just give Master P the credit.
Yeah.
He's just looking on it from
Yeah.
the New Orleans perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I think Master P opened the doors for a lot of those people. And I think, but God said the same. I mean, not God said the same, but like, but the Big Boy record would have never went to jail. I think he would open the door for him as well. Because he had the mystical with everybody.
I agree.
All the people that kind of No Limit was on Big Boy.
Yeah, I agree. But this shit is hard though. You know what I mean? Like, it's timing. It's hard. And one thing about P is, he has his strengths, man. I think he's smart in what he's smart in, and he understood, because you can have a nigga. See, the difference is, right? I'm not going to say any nigga or anybody, but you can create a moment, right? Anybody could get lucky, or sometimes you can hustle to a moment, but to create a movement that takes a whole different perspective, a whole different level of commitment, So I think that was the difference with P and some of these other guys. Because, some of them had hot hands and potential where they could have done what he did. Right. But, what I can say is P, he's an outlier. Like, meaning he thinks so far outside the fucking box, bro, on everything, good or bad. You know what I mean? He thinks so far out the box, So I think that's what gave him an edge. You know what I'm saying?
I think Master P strategy is something that some people use, like myself. I use that, like, just the way he was consistent with albums, putting like movies out and everything. Like, that's how I look at content. I'm like, I'm trying to put out content every day. Like, just the structure, you seen how he move. And I think, you probably picked a lot of things up for P. Like,
absolutely.
I got to be the most consistent.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, man. You're very perceptive with that. That's a fact. That's one of the other things I learned from when I said work ethic. That was covering a multitude of things, but consistency. Yes. Right. Consistency. That's everything.
Think about it. You at the height of the rap business. And you step time to go do movies.
Yeah.
Then you go play NBA for a little while.
Yeah.
Then you go do sports agency. You just you like, man, I can do all this.
Yeah. But in my opinion, what a lot of people don't know too is, P's first love was basketball.
Right.
Music was a means to an end. That was a hustle. You know what I'm saying? If he had it his way, he would have been in the NBA from the start.
Right. And guess what? And I think that's for a lot of people. Like, sports was your first.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people grew up the first day like, I'm gonna be a rapper.
Nah. he never aspired to be a rapper. He wasn't. No, that nigga wanted to be in the NBA. So I mean, you see where his affinity, his first heart, has always went there. When he got to the success, finally, okay, let me try to get. It still shows today. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's his real true love is sports and basketball.
So I'm gonna ask you.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's your true love?
I'm a creative, bro. As a kid, I was, I was always very artistic. I could write really well. I wrote poems. I wrote stories. I always excelled in English and grammar and, creative writing. I could paint. I could draw. So for me, I like to create. That's why the podcasting I enjoy it. And it's so funny with that, right? So, and I don't want to get too long winded, but you said the story, right?
Right.
So like my childhood friends, it's always crazy when they say to me, I've done a lot of things. I've developed real estate. I was a rapper. I was a producer. I've done movies. I've acted in movies. But the podcasting, which, is more like a show. I call myself a journalaster, a journalist mixed with a podcaster. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a hybrid, right? They say, that's you, bro. That's your space. That's your calling. That's it right there. This is my childhood friends. The funny thing about that is, so when you say my passion, when I was in high school, I had and I don't know if I told this, I don't think I said this on the last interview, but I had an English teacher, my senior year of English. And I'm barely graduating because I had went to jail early in my high school year. So I was playing catch up in senior year, trying to graduate with my class. So anyway, this is the 90s. It's 94. So I look like I'm straight out of colors. I got a high top fade. I got the Georgetown starter jacket on, the khakis, the Cortezes. I look like a straight Crip out of LA, right? So I got to get up and read this paper that I wrote. So I get up, I read the paper. I'm just trying to graduate so I don't hear my mother's mouth, So my teacher, he looks after I'm done and he says, man, he said, you speak very eloquently. He said, you have a voice for public speaking. You should consider that. I felt disrespected. I felt like the nigga played with my gangster right in my face. You know what I mean? I'm thinking to myself, like, nigga, I'm not smart like that. Like, what, nigga? I'm a gangster. Like, that. My mind's fucked up. Now, you fast forward, 30 years later, which I have already been talking in front of people, talk to kids and different things like that. But being able to resonate in this space, and it's like, man, I stumbled into a calling and something and I remember I had a psychology teacher. He cussed me out. White dude, looked like Jesus. Used to have long white hair, long white beard. Cussed me out real bad. Was like, you so fucking stupid. You make me sick. You're just a waste of potential. You got that fucking brilliant mind. You know how to speak and you want to be fucking. I'm talking about this dude cussed the fuck out of me, right? And I remember I walked away from him like, boy, you got me fucked up. Boy, I slapped the fuck out you. You know what I mean? But they saw it before I saw it. You know what I mean? So at this stage of my life, my passion is creating, but then being able to touch other people, being able to inspire. That's really what it is, because at the end of the day, nobody remembers, how much money you had, the car you had, the clothes, the jewelry and all that. They remember how you made them feel. So that's like that's like leaving a lasting legacy. You know what I'm saying? So like I recently had the thing with Baby Jade. And, the transparent moment that I had, the emotion that I had, when we, I kind of broke down talking about my mom, I didn't expect that. And I was apprehensive about putting that out. But shout out to my team, shout out to Damo, Darren, and my daughters, my wife. They all was like, no, that was some real shit. You need to let that live. So I let it go. But how it touched so many people. And the messages that I get, like, man, I had gangster niggas that I know texting me like, bro, you got me crying right now. My nigga told me from Oakland, hit me like, bro, I'm at work, nigga, and I had to go in the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? So that right there, that's my passion, being able to touch people and being able to bring something to the human experience through the gifts that God gave me, being able to articulate, being able to converse with people, being able to create these moments, that people can connect to. So that's my passion at this point.
And my passion is hearing people's stories and just even watching other people's stuff. But it actually, inspired me to go out and just a few days ago. And before I actually wrote you that message, I'm like, man, I need to go buy the boom mics. I'm tired of having the mics. I'm just watching your production. I'm like, that's the stuff that inspires me now. But I could never in my life see me doing this.
Yeah.
But now it's like, now I want to hear people's stories.
So that's what I'm saying. So now the other part of that is when I was a kid, so on Facebook, shout out to Tanisha. I went to elementary school with this woman, but she was a girl. She was my girlfriend in elementary school. And she got on the post and she said, damn, she said, who would have thought, because she was like, you were such a shy kid. And I was kind of quiet. I was a popular kid. I was one of those kids that if I didn't know you, I didn't say much. Now, if I know you, then, I talk all day, you know what I'm saying? But if I don't know you, I'm kind of reserved and laid back. I'm still very much like that. But I remember when I was in elementary school, again, I could read really well. But I didn't like reading in front of the class. And so when they had the reading groups and shit, right, I didn't want to read. And so my mother, the teacher called my mother, was like, we don't know what's wrong with him. Can he read? Like, what's going on? She was like, fucking right, he can read. This motherfucker smart as hell. So she cussed me out, was like, look, man, don't make these people think something wrong with you. When they call on you, you better read or I'm beat your ass, So I got there. But what it was, I just wasn't comfortable talking in front of everybody like that. So there was a level of shyness that I had. But then I ended up being a fucking rapper. You know what I mean? So it's a weird duality that I have, but I liken it to like Michael Jackson and Prince. They were very shy, reserved, and meek and laid back in real life, but when they got on stage, they came alive. Right. So it's funny when you fast forward that my personality is really very reserved. I don't like a lot of attention and all that, but when I get in the creative space, shit, I come alive.
And I always tell kids, like man, if don't rush it, you don't know what you're going to be. Because,
man,
I ain't going to lie to you. Even at 20 years old, I still couldn't imagine me doing this.
That's a fact.
I ain't going to lie to you. 7 years ago, I still would
imagine me
doing this. Like,
that's a fact.
It's just you don't know where your life going to go.
Yeah.
And that's when you start getting, you might be an adult and find a new passion.
No, that's a fact. I remember a nigga told me in the 90s, you never know where the game is going to take you in this entertainment shit. You have artists that become executives and all kind of shit. But this journey in this media with the podcast, actually, another part of it kind of started with P too. Because, P had a show called Doing the Most on Playboy Radio. And it was kind of like Howard Stern. Yeah. So that was my first experience into this type of thing. And I remember P saying, man, just come on the show with me. I was like, and do what? He was like, nah, just come. We gonna talk shit. Woo, woo, woo. I said, all right. So me, him, Juggy, and Jay Tweezy, we did this. This is in LA. And we shot at the Playboy Studios. We did probably 20 episodes. And so I'm thinking we just talking shit, whatever. One of the executives, Tao, she pulled me to the side and was like, hey, she was like, you kind of good at this. She was like, do you want your own show? And I'm like that? Now this is like 2016, 2017. So she ended up helping me get a show at Dash Radio in Hollywood. And so I went. Now, at the time, Crazy Bone had a show over there. Snoop had a show over there. But this is before podcasting. It was audio. But I didn't understand the business of how to monetize that. But I did it for about a year. You know what I mean? And so, but I'm saying that to say the seed was kind of planted doing that show with P initially. Right. You know what I mean? And then fast forward during COVID, that's when the Hold the Court podcast. Right. And you probably get the same thing, man. It's super gratifying. When I was just on the plane yesterday, like when I was on my way here, when people recognize me and they say, man, I love your show, or they'll go to a moment that, man, when you said such and such, dude, I felt that. Like, that's the part that's gratifying for me.
I remember 3 years ago, the first probably Master P reunion I went to, I actually introduced myself. You like, man, but I heard of Nolazine, but it was like a year later, you hit me like, man, I need to start being on the platform. I didn't know people actually see me. Like, my biggest goal was to try to get across the world, but like representing New Orleans in like No Limit manner. Yeah. But like, how do you, scale your podcast? Because like, I be looking at the Joe Rogans, like I gotta get to like put out this so many episodes. So I want to hear from somebody else. How do you kind of scale? Like, man, I need to get if I need to get ranked. Man,
that's a good question, bro. You asking some good shit. Shit, I might low key be trying to figure that shit out myself. I think it's time, bro. I think a lot of times when you talk about the Joe Rogans or you talk about the Drink Champs or the Mr. Beasts or whatever, these people, we're comparing our couple years to their 10.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
In their relationships.
In their relationships, it takes time. That's one component. It takes time. But then I think constantly getting better. Because you have to, what I'm learning too, especially in this social media age, you have to know when to pivot and you have to know when to kind of refresh things. You know what I'm saying? And this is the other part of it. For me, I never wanted to be just a West Coast or LA based podcast. I never wanted to be a Kansas City podcast. I wanted to create a great fucking platform for the world. So I think as long as you're operating from that space, you're going to make choices predicated on that goal. So, that's going to be being open to having other guests. I'll give you an example. I had Kristana Loken on my show. This is a white Hollywood actress. She played the female Terminator, with Arnold Schwarzenegger in T3 and Terminator 3, and she's got a couple other big movies. She's got a movie now with Jean-Claude Van Damme. That wasn't someone that my audience would, think to see. But I look at it as a whole big masterpiece with colors and levels to it. You see what I'm saying? My platform. So it's not just, okay, I can bring Crip Mac, the hood niggas, and I can bring just the rappers or just, the actors. Like I can have a conversation. Everybody, like we said, everybody got a journey, but I can sit down and comport a conversation with a Hollywood actress. Or like I just had Karen White. I have her coming next, the dead Superwoman. You know what I'm saying? Being able to have a conversation with her, or Rashawn Ali. So these different walks and different ethnicities too. That's the other part that I see in scaling, because now you're going to open yourself up to different type of ads. You know what I mean? So it's in different audiences. So, and still representing the culture, because what I do is I bring them into my world.
Right. And I'm trying to look diverse, and also me, I actually don't, but actually I'm enjoy, not knowing that much about a person. I want to learn you just as like other people learn.
Yeah.
So I kind of get excited while hearing you doing it. Like, I'm ready to put this out because I know what I heard to put this clip out.
That's right. It's same thing with me, bro. So I think in scaling, it's just being consistent. I think it's paying attention, knowing when to refresh things, knowing to, even as simple as, your artwork or your opening or the you see the environment. I've switched up the environment of where I film at just so it doesn't get stale. You know what I'm saying? So I think you just keep things fresh and you keep trying to get better. That's the thing. And I think be very intentional with the conversations, and I've learned over time just what resonates, like I got a new show with me and Lazy Bone called Somebody Had to Say It. You know what I'm saying? And like all we're doing is basically it's like first take of rap and the culture. All we do is argue. We just arguing about, just who was the creator of horrorcore? You know what I mean? Who was it? Was it Brother Lynch Hung, or was it, Gangsta Nip? You know what I'm saying? And let's break that down. Technically, it could have been Ghetto Boys with Assassins in 1987. Nigga, let's look at you know what I mean? So I think you can create these controversial moments without smutting people and being disrespectful. You know what I mean? So I think it's just understanding how to package up what resonates with people with class. That's how I see it. Because a lot of motherfuckers do cheap shit. Like everybody want to go to Charleston White route. They want to go to controversy route. Let me just talk shit, say anything disrespectful. I go viral, and then niggas will pay me for interviews. I mean, you could do that, but
Yeah, that ain't my focus. I never was into it's easy to do that.
It's easy to do that.
I'm more inspired by the, soft white underbellies.
Exactly.
Like, even though, people if he gets so much criticism, I'm starting to get why he do it, and that's Vlad. Mm-hmm. Like, Vlad is definitely on his own level.
Vlad is good at what he does. Right. Vlad is a journalist. Vlad asked. Now, I will say, because he's not from our world, there are things that he may ask that I would never ask. You know what I'm saying? Just because culture. See, this is where the culture comes in. Like somebody had Turk recently, and somebody asked me like, "Oh, nigga, why you didn't ask him about his masters?" I was like, "Cause that's nobody's business." You know, that I can't in good conscience as a man sit across from another man and try to pry into his financial business. Right. That's disrespectful. But see, you probably wouldn't understand that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's still certain things. There's a line, you know. And I think sometimes, though Vlad is very good at what he does, but he just may not know that, nah, bro, you don't say that. You know, just like, you know, it's jail politics. When you go to jail, it's certain shit that you ain't supposed to say and ask.
And also, I think it's a thing of, it shows you what type of morals and what you've been around.
Yeah.
It's like certain things, like I tell people early, like, man, if don't mention nobody's name,
yeah,
like negatively,
right.
Don't talk about no street stuff with me, because the people might try to actually only summit me for this footage, so I don't need to be included in your thing. You kind of try to call me a snitch because the people want your footage.
Yeah. I think it's some finesse to this shit too. Like, for instance, like, you know, it's a fine line, right? I won't allow people to come on my show and just smut people, you know, and do that. I don't do that. I don't get mixed up in that. Now, I do understand that when people are telling their stories and their experiences, sometimes there are other people intertwined with those stories. And sometimes it's not always good, but that's their story to tell. Like, for instance, you know, Damian Hall, he just came on my show and we went viral about the stuff that he was saying with Guy about Teddy. Well, Teddy is his partner. That's his brother. They got history. So if he chooses in telling his story to say, hey, Teddy did some shit I didn't like and woo, 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 that's, you know, that's different. It'd be, now, if he didn't have no connection to Teddy and just wanted to get on there, yeah, that bitch ass nigga Ted, no, we not doing that.
Yeah, so what I try to do, I try to kind of, if somebody's going to talk about somebody, I want to try to kind of use my, on a narrator ability, like, you know, well, how y'all relationship is now.
Yeah,
like, you know,
to redirect it.
Kind of how, like, last time you interviewed when you talked about Cat Williams situation. You like, but you still ended it with, like, Cat Williams is this type of person. So if you going to say something bad about a person,
say the good shit too.
Because, like, I can easily take the route and take a small clip and make it look bad.
Yeah, right.
I want the narrator to be good. Like, I want you to talk bad about it, man. But I want you to also have something good to say about it.
It's a redeeming quality, and it's real. It's balanced. Yeah, and that's why you'll stick around for a long time, and that's why you'll be successful, because it's a thing of integrity. You know what I mean? Most people don't have it.
Well,
right?
A lot of people don't have it.
Yeah, and that's what and this is why people are comfortable coming to my show. This is why it's gained popularity, and people are like, yeah, I love it because I love the way. And I mean, it's a way you can do controversial shit. I've had controversial shit, but not in a sense of that, right? I had my Bone Brothers, you know, shout out to Bone Thugs and Harmony. Them are my guys. I had Lazy Bone come on. I had Crazy Bone come on. And they told two completely different experiences about the same situation. And it was tense, right? But they had the right, but they brothers. But they basically like, nah, that ain't what I remember happening. I believe he said this. And it wasn't me being messy. It was them telling their story, and then the other one coming behind them like, yeah, but I need to clarify something. Bro said this. That's not what happened. You know what I mean?
And it happens.
Yeah, and that's life, right? But just for no reason and with malice, smut motherfuckers, that's weak shit. I can't be involved in that.
And I feel personally like, but if I join into that with you, I feel like I'm into that with you.
You in cahoots, yeah.
I feel like I gotta stand on that now if I let you come do that.
Yeah, so and for me, it depends on how, like, you know, because I don't want to police people's story. It's not my job. It depends on how it comes out and what I feel like the intention is. You know what I'm saying? So again, I ain't here to police or try to tell people what they can or cannot say. But if I feel like it could, like, I remember when I used to have Bosco and Crip Mac on, right? And they would go at each other, but it was more like bagging on each other. You see what I'm saying? That was different. It wasn't street shit. It wasn't, oh, that nigga rat, this, that, and the other. It was like, man, that nigga retarded, boy, that big ass nose, and you know, they bagging on each other.
It's not, I'm like leading to real violence.
Exactly.
Right.
And once I could discern that, okay, this is, you know, they really talking about doing shit together, but you know, it's entertainment, then okay, y'all can go ahead and bag on each other. But if I feel like it's gonna bleed over, nah, we not doing that.
Gotcha. So, I'm like, what do you see your media career, directing career going like 5 years from now?
Oh man, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I'm super blessed and super excited and optimistic, bro. This media shit, I ain't gonna lie to you. A lot of people, like how we was talking about folks sleeping on JT the Bigger Figure. You know, a lot of people sleep on Byron Allen, bro. Byron Allen is a fucking media mogul, a fucking, and I think because, the culture has always considered him as corny, you know what I'm saying? But man, this nigga's a billionaire. This nigga owns so many channels. He owns so much shit in the media space that he controls. So I'm just saying, kind of being inspired by the things that he's done. And of course, even Tyler Perry. This is why I'm kind of like, think about this. We utilize Instagram. We utilize these social media platforms. We utilize these streaming platforms, but we don't own any of these infrastructures, right? We don't control anything. We just want to get on. Like I said back in the day, we just want to get on. So what I elected to do was I teamed up with Ice-T, shout out to OG, and we created our own TV network called OG Network. So this is taking my media experience to the next level. And, with me being in the media with the Holding Court podcast, and then, of course, me doing movies and different things like that. Now I'm centralizing everything on a platform that I own and we control, So it'll be an OTT, what they call over the top. So basically, in essence, we're creating our own Tubi channel. So you'll be able to go to Pluto, go down the grid, see OG Network. We got all our original content. We got our tentpole shows. We have all that. One of the main shows we have is the show with me and Lazy Bone called Somebody Had to Say It. We got Ice-T's got a couple new shows that we're producing that will be just exclusively on there. Holding Court podcast, full episodes will be exclusively on there. We got like over 1,000 titles of movies that will be on there. So that's the next move, man, is owning some infrastructure. Then also we're going to be a good place for content creators and other movie producers because, Tubi moved the goalposts. You know what I'm saying? Fox came in, bought them. Now it's like it's like gentrification of content now. They come in, they didn't use black people to build it up. Now they pushing them out and moving the goalposts. Now you can't get on no more. You know what I'm saying? So now all those displaced producers and content creators, they can come get money with OG Network. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we going with it now. And this will be launching this fall. Yeah, OG Network. So y'all be ready for that. You'll see us up on Breakfast Club. Y'all see the whole promo run once we do it. You know what I mean? But that's something that's near and dear to me because again, it's about what you contribute to the human experience, how you help people. And that's going to be me. You know what I mean? Us controlling and owning some shit and then giving opportunities to people to be able to have their shit seen and make some money.
Gotcha. And also, last but not least, tell the world, what can he find you on social media and everywhere else?
Oh, man, follow me on IG at iambigcourt.com. Follow OG Network at OG Network Live on Instagram. Holding Court Podcast, subscribe, like, and comment. You can listen to it. Revolt TV, all the platforms. Be on the lookout for the next interviews that I got dropping. Karen White, Superwoman herself, Rashawn Ali from All the Queen's Men, Julia Beverly, and then even Cynthia Rothrock, China. She was China O'Brien, the martial artist from all the martial art movies and shit. So, man, I got a lot of great things going. And again, I can't y'all fuck with the OG Network. We coming in hot too.
What's your story?
If you ain't on Nolazine, you ain't on